You often speak about self-love and self-care on your broadcasts. Well, taking care of ourselves through purposeful movement and strength training in particular, definitely self-love and self-care.
As a vegan, do you ever feel like you're living in a parallel universe, aware of things that many others don't even seem to notice, let alone acknowledge? I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse podcast. We talk with vegans from around the globe who, like you, are living lives of integrity and compassion with an eye toward justice. Through their personal stories, you'll come to see that you're not an outlier. In fact, you're part of an entire posse of individuals who aren't just keeping the peace, they're creating it through their food choices and beyond. You won't be saddling up, but you're in for the ride of your life. Welcome to the Vegan Posse. Hey Posse, I'm your host, Chrissy Benson. It's the final week of 2024, and what a year it's been. If you haven't yet, please check out the special Vegan Posse episode regarding the theft of 1.28 Bitcoin from my Coinbase account in August 2024, a crime I'm still working on getting justice for. In the meantime, what you can do to help both me and the vegan cause is pick up lots of copies of my novel, Marrying Myself, which features a vegan protagonist, was featured in Veg News magazine, and which you can help make an Amazon bestseller and normalize veganism through the arts. This week, we're bringing you a special bonus episode of the Vegan Posse. Previous Vegan Posse guest Angela Fischetti can help you stay strong, and she'll definitely help you stay true. I've already incorporated a few new workout moves based on Angela's presentation. So throw on your gym clothes, break out your yoga mat, and enjoy the self-love total body workout for bone and muscle strength with Angela Fischetti. Welcome to the Vegan Posse. This week we are mixing things up. We have a special presentation from fitness training guru Angela Fischetti, who's broadcasting to us from sunny Florida, hence my palm tree tropical background. So Angela, welcome back to the Vegan Posse. Are you ready for the ride of your life?
Bring it on, Sister Chrissy. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me back.
I am so happy to have you back. And again, it's really fun to just inject some movements and just a different focus from our typical philosophical, emotional, deep conversation and get into the body and get into movement because we're a posse. We've got an important mission and we need to stay fit and strong and healthy and powerful. And that's what you're helping people do. Correct?
Thank you. Yes, that is absolutely the main mission in life. And my mission here is to reach out to your audience, who is typically a bit younger than my demographic. And it's so important we get started with that strength training younger so we don't get osteoporosis.
Okay,
right.
Noted. So Angela, I am going to mute myself and turn the platform over to you, and you can take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Chrissy. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we are ready to begin here, and our workout for the Vegan Posse, I'm very excited. I'm calling this self-love total body workout for bone and muscle strength with supersets. It's a lot of words, right? But you often speak about self-love and self-care on your broadcasts. Well, taking care of ourselves through purposeful movement and strength training in particular, definitely self-love and self-care. Now, what does it mean with superset? Well, supersets means that you're training two different exercises back to back without any rest. The other thing here that we're going to do is I am sharing with your audience my anecdotal approach to my journey once having been diagnosed with the osteoporosis of a 90-year-old. It was a paper that they handed me back then. It wasn't digital, and literally in red of a 90-year-old. And I was 60 years old at the time, and I'm now soon to be 67. And it took me 3.5 years to, what I will say, downgrade the diagnosis. I'm not in the medical profession. I am not allowed to say that it was reversed, although Dr. Scott Harrington has been on, a medical doctor, a plant-based medical doctor, and he has literally said, she doesn't say it's reversed. I'm telling you, she reversed it. So I call it downgrading to age-appropriate osteopenia. And the reason why I'm putting it this way right now, Chrissy, is because in today's day and age, we are scaring females into thinking that osteopenia must be medicated and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you know what? Osteoporosis, whatever you need, whatever your decisions are, I get it, because that is a disease. Osteopenia is not. And it's a natural byproduct of simply getting older. We lose estrogen. And I once had a conversation with Dr. Frank Sabatino, and I asked him, I said, my feeling is when you read what goes on with osteopenia in the body in the age range, that it's actually there to protect us from estrogenic cancers. And he was like, that's pretty much right. So I'm just here to say, I do not take osteopenia lightly. If I did, I would stop doing the strength training maybe. No, I am fully aware that osteoporosis could return. And one of the reasons why I want to do this presentation for your demographic is that they need to start with the weightlifting, strength training, resistance training, whatever words you resonate with. I don't care if it's with weights. I don't care if it's with bands and tubes, because I could send them studies about the benefits of working with bands and tubes as well as the weights. And it's just a matter of what works for somebody. So the earlier you begin this, don't wait till you're 60 to find out if you have osteoporosis. Work at it now. And I'm trying to think with the second reason, I don't know, it'll come to me, but the whole thing here is to help prevent, maybe even like I did, halt it, downgrade it, regardless of age. Regardless of age, because I also work with people, well, I have several married couples I work with. They're all in their upper 80s, and no matter what, they still get stronger. So please don't give up hope. Begin the process now. So with this workout, the accessories we'll be using will be a sticky yoga mat. And I say that because exercise mats slip and slide. So depending if you have any health concerns, you really need to make sure that you are on a flat surface, unencumbered by stuff and unencumbered by like throw rugs, things like that. Frankly, I think you ought to just throw those out and go for the tile floor, honestly. And just be careful of the surface, right? Also, we'll be using a fit ball. And if you don't have a fit ball, you can use a 9-inch Pilates ball. This thing has no weight, but you'll understand why in a few moments when we get to the work, why I'm using this. Just keep in mind, it's for form. And then we'll talk a little bit more about it as we get into it. And then I'll also be using 3 pair of weights. Now, I'll be using 8-pounders, 18-pounders, and 25-pounders. Do you begin there? No. I'm going to show you how you begin and then how you take it into a more advanced approach. We're going to cover everybody. When we tell you that all levels are welcome, you are welcome here. Now, this is going to lead me directly into the medical disclaimers and precautionary measures. Chrissy, this is the longest part of my talking, and it's the most important because I'm going to cover a minimum of a dozen chronic health concerns that could be affected by inappropriate movement for the exercises and inappropriate positions to your concerns, specific concerns. And so please, it's your responsibility to watch what I do and apply it to the work should you decide to participate. So it's going to be, this is the most important part, is what I really want to emphasize. So if you have a latex allergy, the mats and any type of workout ball, they're typically made out of latex. So you want to look for non-latex or latex-free. Now, going a little bit deeper into the issues here. If you have issues with flexing the knees, bending the knees, I'm going to take you to the wall to show you something. And I'm going to bring in a couple of other issues here as well. It's called a wall sit or a wall seat. I'm going to teach you squats. I'm going to be teaching you deadlifts. So sometimes you might not be able to do them at the floor, but you can use the wall for support. Now, my entire spine is up against the wall. I get to bend my knees as much as I can handle. You don't have to go super deep in order to do a squat. Now, I'm going to show you here how I align the body. Up here are the high hip bones called the iliac crest. You place your hands to the inside of the iliac crest. Make sure that you're standing with hip bone, knees down to the ankles, all in the same line as each other. Toes in the same line as each other. Plus my ankles are just a hint forward of the knees. Now, if you have any back spine flexion issues, that means with bending down to pick up something, maybe you've been told not to do this. And this could apply, but not exclusive to osteoporosis of the spine, as well as the postural deviation known as hyperkyphosis. This is the one where you have that slight hunched appearance. Use the wall. However, for hyperkyphosis, pretty much most people, when they go to use the wall, they're going to wind up with a forward head posture. It's also known as tech neck today. So what you do is you take a towel, you roll it up, and you place it behind your head, not your neck, and you work on pushing your head back. So we've covered several issues right there just by using the wall as an option for you. Moving on into the medical disclaimers. If you are medicated or not for hypertension, you have vertigo or GERD, I want you to avoid this position of the cervical spine of the neck. It's pretty simple, just dropping the head down, but please keep your head up. And this is something I want to point out because lately when I do live Zooms with classes, I see people like this with their head down working out. And I'm like, what are you doing? Because if you have arthritis in the neck, any type of neck issues, this can be a problem that you might wind up blaming the exercise. And what it is they're putting the device on the phone, the phone or whatever device it is on the floor to do the work. Please make sure that you put your device up to eye level. So you're going to keep your head, chin neutral during the workout. Now, conversely, those of you who have had a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, or a stroke, I'm going to show you something. At the end of this, I'm just going to do a few gentle stretches, but I want to do a back spine extension. It's basically a back bend, and it doesn't matter how little or deep it is. But what does matter is a lot of times when somebody does a back extension, and I know I do, I just love to drop the head back into a cervical spine hyperextension. However, not for TIA or stroke. You folks keep your head neutral as well. Checking my notes here because there's a lot of issues here. Now, I'm going to teach an exercise called a sumo squat. So think about the sumo wrestlers and they bring the legs wide. Now, what can happen here is if you have had a hip replacement or osteoporosis of the hip, well, I'm in hip abduction. Abduction, that means going away from the midline of the body. But I'm also working on pressing the thighs back toward the wall behind me. This would be an external rotation or lateral rotation of the hip. If you have been advised not to bring your legs wide apart for those two issues, don't. Just make it a more narrow squat, or you can take it to the wall as well for the wall sit. If you have carpal tunnel syndrome, I want you to avoid this wrist position. Now, it doesn't matter where the hands, the arms, and the forearms are. All of this that I'm doing, I never moved from wrist extension. You folks need to work with straight wrists. Now, we are going to do a couple of variations on planks. So as you know, you're going to be in a wrist extension. So for those of you with carpal tunnel, a couple of suggestions. One is going to be you could take it to the wall and work on the elbows and forearms. However, when we get to the floor, I'm going to show you how you can take your hands and place them into a soft fist. Notice I don't turn the fingernails into the skin because you can get cut. It's a soft fist, therefore the wrists will be straight. Double checking the notes. Yes, we've got two more to go, Chrissy, and then we're there. We're going to begin more of the work. So if you have golfer's elbow, which is medial epicondylitis, or tennis elbow, lateral epicondylitis, you're going to need to seek further medical advice to find out if any bicep or tricep work is appropriate for you, because it works the elbows, right? Both are going to be affecting the elbows. So in particular, an exercise called the straight arm pushback that I'll be teaching, as well as those planks. Please find out from your medical doctor if these exercises are appropriate to you. Now, having said all this, Chrissy, these are all chronic health concerns. So if you have any chronic health issue at all, I invite you to observe the video. Don't participate right away. And look for what you can do. However, if you're not sure, then I would invite the medical healthcare practitioner who knows your body best to preview the video as well to help you make an informed decision. And it's all about being informed, folks. Don't, my hairdresser's son, whose brother owns a gym, and the father was saying, forget all that, okay? Get the proper information as it pertains to you to keep you safe. Now, Chrissy, there's some reminders here. I'd like to remind people that they are welcome to stop and rest whenever they need to. However, I'm not inviting them to quit. So you stop, take a couple of breaths, and then return to the work, even if it's for one more repetition, because this is how you will get stronger. Also, please keep yourselves properly hydrated with water. I don't know from bubbly water, flavored waters, coffees, teas. I only know with Harvard Health Publishing reports on the studies of drinking water while strength training. But some people have been medically advised to avoid drinking a lot of water if they have kidney or bladder issues. Please, you follow that advice. Also, I would like to inform people that on my YouTube channel, Chrissy, it's Boomer and Beyond Wellness. What I have there is a warm-up and a cool-down video. It's kind of pinned right to the top of the channel. And the reason why I created this video is because it is advised for those of us who are 55 years and above to warm up for a full 10 minutes prior to any workout. And finally, Chrissy, I'm going to send you a link to something called an RPE scale. So that stands for Rating of Perceived Exertion. This is a Borg 0 through 10 scale that is subjective but incredibly accurate. And basically, it's a wonderful tool for those who might have a pacemaker, maybe if you're on certain medications like beta blockers, or maybe you just don't know how to gauge your sense of heart, and you don't know how to take your heart rate, you don't know how to really gauge your efforting. So it is advised to work out at an RPE between 3 and 6 on this scale. So now what are we going to do here with this self-love total body workout? With all of this going on and the supersets, etc., I'm going to be teaching you 8 exercises, and I'm teaching them first in a vertical format. This is where those of you who have the chronic health concerns, maybe you're new to exercise, maybe you're new to strength training, you're going to see why it's important to first do the work without any of the weights, without the external resistance. But where I can, I will bring the ball into it, again, because of form. But this is important, that if you choose not to use the ball, or even a lightweight yoga block that really is very, very light, you don't want like a cork or a wooden one, all right? If you're not going to hold on to something, then I need you to be purposeful in your movement and not go flinging through the movement, because there's a big scene going on right now online with as many reps as possible. It's called AMRAP. Folks, that's not about building bone and muscle strength. The types of exercises we're going to work on are called compound movements, all 8 of them. This means we're working multiple joints along with multiple large muscles. Now, after we do the first 8 vertically, then we move into the superset format, and that's going to be 4 blocks of 2 exercises each. So now I'm going to show you how to stand to begin the workout, and we call it an athletic ready stance. Basically, I'm going to reproduce what I did at the wall. Place the hands to the inside of the high hip bone, look down, line up, down to the knees, down to the ankles, toes same line as each other, knees just a little soft. You're not blocking them out, nothing like that, just slightly soft, but it's not a squat. Now I'm going to turn to the side, because oftentimes I see females doing this. When they stand to work out, they start going into this. So they tip the pelvis forward. It's called an anterior pelvic tilt. We don't want that. We want to take it into a subtle posterior pelvic tilt. It's also known as a pelvic tuck. So that's your athletic ready stance. Now, Chrissy, we begin the movement with the first block. The first exercise will be squats, and we're going to do this with what's called a bent over bilateral, meaning both sides at the same time, back row. So for the squat, I'm going to face you and then face the side. I like to, when I do my squats, I lift the toes inside the shoes. The reason why I do this is because several reasons. We have working the shin muscles when you lift your toes. We don't send our shins a lot of love, all right? So we want to avoid walking like this later on. Work your shin muscles when you're younger. Also, when you work the shin muscles, you help your balance as well as help your knees. The other thing it will do is when on the standing phase of the squat, I'm actually pushing up from my heels. This brings the effort into the posterior extensor side of the body, the entire chain. That chain is going to be your back erector muscles, your gluteals, and your hamstrings. So now with the ball, you can hold it by your chest. I don't care if you hold it overhead, straight out in front, whatever you want to do, and you can vary it up. The toes are lifted. We're going to do 1 set of each. A set is a group of 8 to 15 repetitions. I sit back into a chair as I inhale. On the exhale, I come on up. So here's a slight little posterior pelvic tuck. Squeeze the glute, squeeze the quadriceps. Inhale, exhale. So all of the breath is in and out through the nose now. There's a lot of science that is pointed to now we exhale as well through the nose for strength training when it used to be through the mouth. So it's similar now to the part of the yoga breathing. We're going to go for 2 more repetitions. I take my time, And we really want to pause at the peak of the contraction right there. Now, the next exercise, I would use the ball, but I'm not going to, only because I want to increase the range of motion. You'll see why. So it's the bent over bilateral back row. Well, bent over is a giveaway for back spine flexion issues. No. So what we're going to do for you folks is we're going to stay upright. We'll still get the benefit of the work. Facing you, I bring the arms out in front. Inhale, exhale, I pull. Notice I lift the chest up on the pull. The other thing I don't do is I don't collapse the chest on the way down. I'm going to turn my back to you because I want you to see the scapulae. The shoulder blades are being drawn in toward each other. I'm not doing this kind of thing where it's like, oh, look how far back I'm going. No, I don't want that forward head posture for you. Just stand upright and just go to the range of motion that your body can handle. We're working here the posterior deltoid muscles. We have the rhomboid muscles of the upper back, as well as on all pulling the bicep muscles. Now, for the next block, we have deadlifts with straight arm pushback. What I'm going to do is show you the difference between a squat and a deadlift. And then we'll go into the repetitions because they're very similar, and I find people kind of mix them up with each other. So let's help them out. The toes are lifted. I'm just going to take the ball here. I'm going to do the squat again. I'm going to do one more. And then I'm going to show you the difference between a squat and a deadlift. Toes are lifted, chest is up. However, this is a hip hinge. The head stays up. But when you come to the top, here's that pelvic tuck squeeze. It's like a tiny, teeny, tiny hip thrust. But please don't do something like this, thinking it's better. It is not. So less is more when it comes to the body. Notice how close to the body I keep the ball. You'll see I do the same thing when I'm holding the weights. I'm going to go for 3 more. I want you to be able to bend down, pick up something with weight, and get right back up without issue. And hold here. The next one is the straight arm pushback. I am going to set the ball down. So I want you to look at my hands. There's 2 grips. You can choose one or the other. It doesn't matter. Palms face each other or palms face the wall behind you. When they face each other, it's a narrow grip. When it faces the wall behind you, it is a wide grip. But notice how far back my arms are. You don't begin here, folks. I want you here. That means you're already on a taut muscle. So what I like to think is that I'm gliding my knuckles along the floor to reach back. And then I slowly release. Now I've got to tell you something. When you do this with weights in your hands, whew, it is an incredible compound movement because it will tie in all of your core muscles, which include abdominals, but also include the back erectors, the gluteals, the quadriceps, your pelvic floor muscles, and your hip adductor muscles. The muscles more specifically working this exercise are the posterior deltoid, back of the shoulders, those rhomboids again, between the shoulder blades, as well as your tricep muscle. This is one of the exercises, if you have golfer's or tennis elbow, you have to find out if it's appropriate for you. Now, the next block will be those sumo squats, the wide squats. So we already gave you the modifications, and we're doing this with a unilateral, meaning one-legged plank pose. So for the sumo squat, I go wide, toes same line as each other. I'm going to tie in some arm movement here. So inhale, I sit back into the chair. Exhale, slowly come on up. And inhale, so when I'm in the squat right here, the knees track over the second to third toe. And when I come up, definitely on that exhale, exhale on the effort, pelvic tuck squeeze. Now, if you don't feel the gluteals working, I say bring your feet a little closer together. Now, why am I so big about so many squats and deadlifts? It's because in the aging process, not always, but many times, females fall because of weak gluteals. So that's why I'm real big about targeting the area. I'm going to do one more. Inhale and exhale. Turn the feet in. Now I'm going to take it to the floor, and I'm going to show you the modified version first for the warm-up, and then we'll do it full out. So I've got my clock over here because I want to time this for us. So the hands are down. When the hands are down, the fingers are stretched wide apart. Remember, carpal tunnel, you can do the soft fist, and I will be demonstrating both. Your index fingers are pointing straight forward, middle ring pinky fanned out to the sides as the thumbs try to reach each other. So instead of doing my one-legged plank like this for the moment, I'm just going to extend the outside leg. So you're not collapsing down, folks, and I'm only going to hold here for 15 seconds. You want to make sure you push the ground away, pushing back through your heel as you send energy out the heart center. I'm going to lower that knee down, inside leg. So I like to borrow from yoga. There's that concept of oppositional movement going on at all times in yoga. Push back through the heel, energy forward through the heart, and push the ground away. Lower the knee down, and I vacuum a lot. I have a cat. It's just the way it goes. Okay. Now we're going to do for the final block RDLs, which means Romanian deadlifts. And we're going to do that with a low plank, which is an excellent alternative for carpal tunnel syndrome. So here's the difference between the basic deadlift to Romanian. You go wider than the hips, but not as wide as a sumo squat, folks, okay? So here we go. Keep that head up. Always going to remind, medicated or not, for hypertension, have vertigo or GERD, please keep the head up. Inhale, exhale, pause. And don't worry, I'm going to show you different angles as we go through the program. I'm going to do one more. Okay, let's set that down. We're going to come to the floor. Again, I'm just going to do it with one knee down, whatever works for you in the beginning with your work here. Just want to make sure my hands are on camera. Okay, so we come down now onto the palms, and we want to line up wrists, elbows, shoulders in the same line as each other. I'm just going to take one leg out behind me and holding here. Now the butt is up higher than I like, but it's only because we're doing it one-legged style. You can always, keep it down if you want as well. And we're going to lower the knee and take it out behind. But just don't let the head drop down. Don't sag down. Always resist dropping into the floor, but you also want to think you're rooting into that ground and lifting out of it. And let's lower down. And now, Chrissy, it's time for the weights. Let's do this thing, okay? So we're going to begin here, right back to the top. Those of you, by the way, who want to stay with no equipment, what have you, you are invited to do so. Those of you who are stronger than I am and lift heavier weights, go for it, whatever you need to do. Let's do our squats with the bent over bilateral back row. This is where I work with the 25-pounders for the squats. My first time out, I need to watch myself to make sure I have my own form correct, and then I'll be turning for you as well. Toes are lifted, shoulders plugged into, the arms plugged into the shoulder sockets, chest is lifted. Inhale, sit back. Exhale, pelvic tuck squeeze. Now, when you do this, especially with heavier weights, sometimes people swing them forward. Don't let it happen. You can hear me. I'm not faking the breath. 2 more. Inhale, exhale up, pause. 1 more. All right, now this is what is meant by superset. We go right into the bilateral back row, the bent over. You can stay upright depending upon your situation. I'm going to stand wider apart and pull. So these are 18-pound weights. You want to pause at the peak of the contraction, belly button in, folks. Got to protect your back. One more. And take it on down. Now I have people who live downstairs, so I have to respect it and not crash my weights down. Okay, back to squats. Let's do it on the diagonal for you. Really squeeze those thighs and glute as you come to the top. 2 more. Back to the row. And I'm telling you now, I'm going to be sweating a lot in just a moment. I can feel it. Okay, here we go. You can play with this too if you want to turn it unilateral, 1 arm at a time. 1 more. And down. Now for the next block, we're going to do deadlifts along with, I think, yes, the straight arm pushback. So with the deadlifts, I'll be using 25-pounders. Hip hinge, weights very close to the body. Pelvic tuck squeeze at the top. Two more, man, gets right in the butt. But that is the point. Okay. Now for the straight arm pushback, also known as a press back, I'll be using 8-pounders. It's an incredibly challenging, simple movement. You would never know it. Okay, let's turn to this side for a change. Here we go. Pause. And that is a whole lot of work, folks. This simple movement, incredible, comprehensive, compound movement. Woo. 1 more. And watch the release, because you can get hurt in the beginning and at the end of the exercise. Pay attention to how you approach it and how you leave it. 1 more. And let's set these down. Back to the straight arm pushback. I'm going to change the grip for you. I'll go narrow grip on this one. I'll face you. Now notice I like to keep the arms just a little hint wider than the shoulders. because I find it's kinder to the neck. Ooh. Ooh. One more. Pause and gently release. Now, if you feel like you need a stretch or something, what you can do, and I'm just going to do some shoulder rolls, you can do them in between the blocks. We're moving into our third block, which is going to include sumo squats with, yes, that unilateral plank. So I'm going to grab the 25 pounders again for the sumo squats. Those of you who know about your contraindications for wide, you know what you have to do. So I'm placing the weights on each thigh. Inhale, sit back. Exhale, pelvic tuck squeeze at the top. Again, reminding you that the knees track over the second to third toes. Your rate of breathlessness will increase with compound movements, as well as your heart rate will elevate. You're not really going to want to talk, but you can if you have to. One more. Okay, so now we're going to take it to the floor. This time I will be timing it 30 seconds on each leg for the unilateral plank. So I lifted the inside leg on top of the back of the ankle and heel of the outside leg. Again, pushing the ground away. Now, eyes of the elbow creases facing forward. Draw that belly button up and in. Please avoid any of this sort of sagging thing that can happen. If you're getting tired, just lower your knees down for a few moments. It's okay. And you go back into the work. And now changing sides. I'm going to show you here for carpal tunnel. The soft fist, I don't have really any weight on my thumbs. We want to be careful with that joint, particularly that first carpometacarpal joint at the thumb. Could be a little dicey for some. And are you breathing? And gently lower. Just walk it in. Careful here. I'm going to take my time slowly rolling up. Inhale to lift the head. Back to sumo squats. Now with sumos, I stay straight because I really have to track my knees when I do this. And you know, you can always mix up your equipment. I like to work with kettlebells as well. And lately I've been getting into weighted slam balls, not so much for the slamming, but actually for the wrist forearm work just by holding weighted balls in our hands. Excellent for hand strength and grip. Oh, it's talking to me. I rehearsed this before, Chrissy, so I'm feeling it. One more, but it's not a complaint. And easy coming up. And now we take that back to the unilateral plank. I'm going to just begin here for carpal tunnel. Make sure my hands, yep. Okay, I'm going to bring the outside leg this time, ball of that foot on the ankle heel of the inside leg. Push away. Energy back through the heels. Energy going forward from the heart. Head, my eye gaze is out in front of me. It's not straight down. It's just out in front. Breath in and out through the nose. Basically 30 seconds each side. 5 more. And other side. I like doing it the carpal tunnel way, folks, because I feel the work so much more on those osteoporotic sites, the wrists and the forearms, not in a negative way. It's just they're working, and that's what we want to do. If you see this sweat dripping, please forgive me and breathe. 5 more seconds. And lower down. Careful here. A couple of shoulder rolls. And we're coming into our final block, folks. So now it's the RDLs, Romanian deadlift. I did not name it. It's been named that for 100 years, okay? And we'll also be doing this with a low plank. So for the RDL, same thing, 25 for me. Remember, that's a bit wider leg. Absolutely, absolutely my favorite exercise for females. Toes lifted, hip hinge. I defy you not to feel your butt on this exercise. You want to talk about wakening a fatigued glute. This will do it. Always take that pause at the peak of the contraction of any exercise. Let it kick in to the belly of the muscle. Uno más. Pause. Okay, now let's do it. Low plank. I'm doing a 1-minute hold. I'm not interested in these plankathons where you hold forever and a day. Because that's not strength, that's endurance. Okay, I'm going to come down on those forearms, and I'm going to come out behind me like so. Belly button in, watching the clock. Resist the floor. Lots and lots of work here on those biceps. So golfer's tennis elbow, you need more advice regarding this. Reaching back to pull forward. Again, we avoid collapsing. Then I have another hand grip to show you on this the second time we approach it. I'm going to go for another 5 seconds here. And take it on down. Slowly roll it up back to the RDLs. I'm going to turn completely to the side here for you. My feet are wider than the hips, but not dramatically so. Toes lifted. You never want to do the work on consecutive days. You want to do the workout non-consecutive days. But that doesn't mean you can't strength train in between, just not the same exact exercises. Woo, 2 more. Yeah, baby. Let's set them down. Always make sure, especially with heavier weights, that they're not going to roll off the surface. And back down to the low plank. Watch my hands. I'm going to interlock my fingers. I'm going to tuck one pinky in so that when I close the hands, they are going to be flush to the floor. It's going to be a lot of work on the bicep. So coming down. So much work here also, Chrissy, on the deltoid muscles of the shoulders. They work a lot in all of bicep work, typically because they are stabilizers. They may not be a primary mover, but they are a helpful stabilizer, that's for sure. And engaging the quadriceps, belly button in. My body wants to do that, no way. I'm going to work against that, folks. The other thing that I did was clean up my diet. For me, I became sophos-free, salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar-free, and continue that to this day. And our food, whole food, plant-based, absolutely supports strength training. We have a much quicker recovery time, and there is no inflammation. When done correctly, incorrect exercise can cause inflammation. And lower the knees down and slowly come on up. And now, Chrissy, we're just going to do a couple of moments for a cool down. But if you don't mind, I need to blot off for a second. And let's show some folks a couple of stretches they can do. I'm going to go after movements of the spine. I'm going to go after movements of the spine. I love to do that as part of the cool down process. So I'm going to bring my feet a little wider than my hips like we did before for the RDL. I'm going to slide my right hand down my outer right leg. I'm not doing this, all right? Sliding down, turning the sternum up and away toward, I should say, toward the ceiling, away from the floor. Sternum toward the ceiling, away from the floor, opposite hand to the waist if you have pinched nerve or rotator cuff muscle issue in that shoulder. Otherwise, you take your arm up and over. So as much as I'm reaching down, I'm reaching up and out, stretching the intercostal muscles between the ribs. They're responsible for 25% of your respiratory cycle. Inhale, turn that palm up, grab an imaginary hook. Exhale, push down into your left heel to come on up. I'm going to slide down and bring the right hand to the waist. I may have called this the left before because it's my real left side, but it's the right for you folks. So I'm sliding down the left, turning the sternum up toward the ceiling. And if you don't have those issues, feel free to bring the arm up and over. Don't do this where maybe your shoulder is limited and you're doing this thinking you're going further. No, I would actually bring the arm here. Just want to make sure that elbow is straight. Also stretching the internal and external oblique muscles of the waist, partially responsible for turning and twisting the torso. Inhale, turn the palm up, grab a hook. Exhale, vigorously reach out. I'm going to take a couple of shoulder rolls here. Now, to offset all of that spine flexion we were doing, I'm going to do the back spine extension I showed you at the beginning. Again, just the feet a bit wider than the hips. Now I'm going to place my hands on the sacrum, the flat triangular plate at the small of the back. But what is this? This is wrist extension. So for carpal tunnel, you folks bring your hands down below the butt and your wrists will be straight. So I'm going to do this bent knee first. So bend the knees, and as I go down, I'm just kind of thinking I'm sliding the sacrum down toward my heels. Does the sacrum slide? No, it doesn't, but it's just what I use for an image. I want to draw the shoulder blades in toward each other. TIA stroke, I don't care how deep, how small your back bend. You keep your head here, though, please. You don't want to drop that head back. Now, if you are up for it, you feel good about it, you can drop your head back. Oh, it feels so good. You can also do this with straighter knees. Now, inhale, lift the head first. Then exhale, come all the way back up. And then this is when I typically tell people, Chrissy, to go to my YouTube channel and participate for about another 5-minute cool down with my video. And that's what we've got for you today, folks, here in the Vegan Posse.
Thank you so much, Angela. That was beautiful. I really appreciate just your connection with your own body and your knowledge and understanding and just self-wisdom regarding your own space, your physical being. It's just so apparent, and it's really inviting. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. And thank you for even just sitting here, not participating. I felt myself coming more into my body. So it'll be fun to replicate some of those exercises. And we have a ready-made workout that people can do just within a limited space with
That's right.
limited equipment. And that's beautiful. Things don't have to be complicated to be effective. And
That's right.
I
That's
really
right.
appreciate that.
Thank you so much for saying that. And it's really important to me for people to really understand whatever you can take away from this, that's good. All right. It's not about, oh, I don't want to, I can't do all of that. No, nobody cares. I want you to really look at this from the perspective of what part of this serves you. And particularly in your moment in time, right now, what serves you. Because what happens, Chrissy, a lot is with people with chronic health issues, they're afraid. And it's understandable. Why? Because unfortunately, many times in their past, they have gotten injured from improper exercise. So that's why it's really important for me that I show the whole thing without the weights, because it's without judgment. I don't, my profession, I love my profession and all that, but it's a little judgy, okay? And it's a little bit elitist from that perspective. It's like, hey, what about the people who are in a chair? Stuff like that, you know? So that's why I'm a big believer in, well, let's get you to work out in that chair. Let's use the chair as a tool to help you, right? As opposed to it's the enemy, because, you know, sitting is the new smoking. Everybody has a different circumstance. And it's just, my feeling is put the material out there, because the bigger picture is the sort of epidemic and pandemic of osteoporosis. It's pervasive. And it's all consuming, and it's a terrible way to go. It's just
Yes, and I'm going to be sharing this video, and in fact, I'll do a formal dedication of this episode to my parents who live in St. Augustine, Florida. And my mom, her doctors are scaring her to death regarding osteopenia. And, you know, so it was great to hear your explanation of that condition and just the realities of it. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And it's been really fun to mix it all up, get into our bodies. And we appreciate you, Angela Fischetti. And what's the best place for people to follow you?
Thank you, Chrissy Benson. I love being here with you. You know, you're one of my favorite. So the best place to follow me would probably be my YouTube channel and Boomerang Beyond Wellness. And I do want to invite your viewers that if they would like to subscribe to my monthly newsletter, you will receive a thank you video from me. That it's a class I put together that I designed exclusively for newsletter subscribers, but it is a sincere thank you. And it is, I'll let you know ahead of time, I did a poll, and and I did a poll several times, and it came out the same way each time. So we have there, I created a chair class because people wanted chair, but people wanted strength training. So you're going to weight lift in the chair. There you go. And that'll be my thank you. Okay. And you will be able to subscribe to that by going to my website, boomerangbeyondwellness.com, and just go to the subscribe tab. Thank you so much, Chrissy.
Perfect. And we'll certainly include all that information in our show notes. And then, Angela, as you're aware, we close every episode of the Vegan Posse by taking 30 seconds of silence for all the suffering animals, human and non-human, who desire, as we all do, safety, happiness, and the freedom to live out their lives without interference. So, Angela, I invite you to join me in 30 seconds of silence for the animals, and we'll conclude with the sound of the bell. Thank you, Angela, and thank you, Posse. See you next time. Until then, stay strong and stay true.
Thank you, Chrissy.